I believe you've directed the trustees of your estate to invest substantial assets into the index fund. Isn't that a vote of no confidence to your managers?
Well, no, because we're talking about way less than 1% of my estate. And one thing I'm going to do, incidentally, I mean, all rich people get advised by their lawyers, set up trusts so that nobody can see your will and all that sort of thing. My will is going to be public record, and you'll be able to check at some point whether I'm telling you the truth about what is going to get done. But 99.7% roughly of my estate will either go to philanthropies or to the federal government. And before it does it, I think Berkshire is a very good thing to hold. But for a given individual, particularly my wife, I just think that having a tiny fraction, which is all it takes for her to do very well for the rest of her life, I think that the best thing to do is buy 90% in an S&P 500 index fund. Now, the index fund people naturally have started over the time. They market more and more products that go to other indices and everything. So they're really starting to say to the American public, they're saying, well, you can pick what continent to invest in, or you can pick what industry, and we'll sell you something for that. And when they just have gotten through telling them, you really don't know anything about stocks, just buy the whole index. So, so I named the 500 index as one, but it's a tiny portion, but it'll be her livelihood, and she'll have all the money she needs and way beyond it, and that's that. But I don't mind having the 99.7%, a large portion of it, assuming that laws are the same as now go to philanthropy, to be kept in Berkshire until they finally are disposed of.
Can investors still assume an oil and gas business that finds and produces oil at low cost per barrel can generate a sufficient return on capital for a long time to come?
Well, I'll give you a 10-word answer to that. I can't remember all the questions that were there, but I would say that people that are on the extremes of both sides are a little nuts. I would hate to have all hydrocarbons banned in 3 years, or you wouldn't want a world, it wouldn't work. And on the other hand, what's happening will be adapted to over time, just as we've adapted to all kinds of things. I do not think, I'm interested in a quote from 1997, because we've talked about this before. We have no problem owning Costco or Walmart, and a substantial number of their stores, and they sell cigarettes. It's a big item. It's something that brings people in. They know the price of cigarettes, and they put them up front, and so we don't. It's a very tough situation. We made that decision a long time ago when we went to Memphis, and we looked at a business that was a very, very good business, and it was much less harmful, at least from everything I could find out. It was much less harmful than smoking tobacco, chewing tobacco was. And these were decent people, and they were running a legal business, and they all chewed tobacco themselves. So they told me that their mother was 100 and chewing tobacco and all these things. But Charlie and I did go down in the lobby of that hotel, and we just said to ourselves, this is probably the best business we've ever seen. And I called my then son-in-law, Alan Greenberg, and he'd studied chewing tobacco and its effects when he was working for a native-related organization, and we decided not to do it. But, would we, I used to see ads in our paper from financial companies where I knew they were terrible, and it's a very tough thing to decide whether you get in or out of a business. And it's a very tough time to decide what companies benefit society more than others. I mean, I don't know whether, I think Chevron's benefited society in all kinds of ways, and I think it continues to do so, and I think we're going to need a lot of hydrocarbons for a long time, and we'll be very glad we've got them. But I do think that the world's moving away from them, too, and that could change. I don't like making the moral judgments on stocks in terms of actually running the businesses, but there's something about every business that if you knew what you wouldn't like. meat packers or anything. Have you ever gone through a meat packing? If you expect perfection, in your spouse or in your friends or in companies, you're not going to find it. And what you elect to do yourself, if you own an index fund, you're going to own Chevron. And believe me, Chevron is not an evil company in the least. and I have no compunction about owning, in the least, about owning Chevron. And if we owned the entire business, I would not feel uncomfortable about being in that business. Charlie?
Well, I agree. You can imagine two things. A young man marries into your family. He's a English professor at, say, Swarthmore, or he works for Chevron. Which would you pick? Because I don't see. I want to admit I'd take the guy from Chevron.
Well, I hope your daughters agree with you.